from Earthquaker Devices, and I'm going to run you through my pedal board. So this is the pedal board I use in my band Relaxer. Up here in the upper right hand corner is the Swiss Things, which is sort of the hub of the pedal board. It's our like all-in-one solution. I actually designed this for this band. We had a couple songs where I had to turn like groups of effects on and off, like one right after another in the middle of songs. This was my solution for that. You know, I always had a tuner, I always had a volume pedal to, you know, mostly just to fade out the signal while I tune, but occasionally I would do volume swells. But I was never terribly happy with any volume pedals I tried. So, you know, I incorporated those things into the Swiss Things, you know, a tuner out and the ability to use an expression pedal with a, you know, for volume control. And then it just has two effects loops, loop 1, loop 2. My intention was loop 1 to be mostly fuzzes, overdrives, things like that. Loop 2 would be modulation, and then it runs out. And the output, it goes into a booster first, and then it runs into what is essentially an ABY box. I pretty much always use it with A out all the time, and occasionally I use the booster, but I thought it was a nice feature to throw in. All right, so that is the hub of the pedal board. The signal goes into there, and then I'm using a Korg pitch black tuner and a little Dunlop volume pedal. And the very first thing in my signal chain is the aqueduct. And the reason why I put it first is because I use it in the envelope controlled mode to do things like and the reason why it's first is because it's just getting the guitar signal. There's no like element of distortion or boost or anything to add gain that would, you know, kind of accentuate that envelope. So it's, you know, a pretty stable signal. From there, it goes into this super secret black pedal down here. And what this is a really, really kind of bright, harsh gating fuzz. It's something I made for myself probably like 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. No intention of making it an Earthquaker pedal. I've tried to recreate the circuit a bunch of times because I like it so much, but I've never been able to replicate it correctly. There's just something magic about this particular one, and I just love it because of this like gating feature, and it's got these it's got some pretty intense overtones to it. Harmonics are kind of a mess. It's a really great fuzz pedal, I think. So yeah, super harsh fuzz. After that, speaker cranker, pretty much always on all the time. That's what it sounds like just into the amp. So that's my bass tone. This next spot, usually occupied by the eruptor or some type of fuzz face like pedal, whatever it is that I decide to put in there. But right now, it's occupied with a prototype for a future Earthquaker pedal, so I'm just going to ignore that. After that, plumes, which is what I use for kind of my like tighter, I would say, gain sound, like. That's what I use that for most of the time. After that, the first non-Earthquaker pedal, well, you know, first non-Earthquaker effect pedal besides the tuner and the volume pedal is this TC Electronic Quintessence. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And I use that for one part of a solo in one of our songs that I double tracked on the recording, but you know, I don't have 3 hands, so I couldn't do that. So I put this on there. So yeah, it gets used in one song. After that, I have a heavily modded Electro Harmonix Pog. Pog is one of my favorite effects ever. The first version of it in the box with the sliders is, to me, the best sounding octave pedal there is. There's something real nice and super dirty about it, especially the sub octave. I modded mine for 2 settings because I typically just use the octave down. But every once in a while I just want to switch so I could use the octave up too. And then you can switch back and forth between the two and it makes cool sounds. So after the Pog is the Hummingbird, which I just use pretty sparingly for this choppy tremolo. Sometimes in that spot I will put like a spatial delivery or something like that set to the sample and hold function. I just pretty much use that spot to switch out pedals that I use to make noise. So that's the end of loop 1 in the Swiss Things. The start of loop 2 is the Rainbow Machine. I use the Rainbow Machine mostly as a chorus. But I have it set so the magic kind of does a lift-off effect. That's how I use the Rainbow Machine. After that, Grand Orbiter Phaser. Phase is one of my all-time favorite effects. I think every pedal board I've ever had has had some form of phaser on it. I leave the Grand Orbiter set like this. And there's just something I like about that, you know, moving filter effect with the guitar. I just feel like it makes it real dynamic, but it also has a real kind of warm sound to it. But I like when it climbs out above it and, you know, hits that peak before it crosses over. It's one of my favorite sounds ever. After Grand Orbiter, Ghost Echo for reverb. Spot was occupied by the levitation reverb for a very long time, and I just put the Ghost Echo back on. After the Ghost Echo, we have the Avalantron delay and reverb. I use that all the time, and I pretty much just leave it set like this. And then that's it. Goes back into loop 2 and out to the amp, which I use the Sub Model T and a 70s Marshall 810 cabinet. The whole thing is powered by a Strymon Zuma, and then I build a little breakout box to power a couple of the overdrive pedals together. I use these awesome VLP cables. Never had any problems with them. Super durable, real low profile, and Oida power cables from Japan. And that's it. That's my pedal board.